The sterile glow of St. Luke's Hospital's fluorescent lights bathed the pediatric wing in a cold, pale sheen as James Thompson cradled his 3-year-old son, Ethan, in his arms, navigating the endless hallway. At 36, James's weary face bore the marks of relentless, sleepless nights and the crushing burden of responsibilities no single parent should carry alone. Ethan, dressed in his cherished Superman pajamas, their vibrant blue a stark contrast to the hospital's clinical surroundings, clung to his father. Despite his illness, the toddler's eyes sparkled with the same inquisitive light that filled James's heart with both boundless love and gnawing fear. "Daddy, will the doctors fix me?" Ethan's small voice reverberated faintly in the quiet corridor. James shifted his son's weight carefully, mindful of the 4-line inserted earlier that day. "They will, buddy. These doctors are the best, and they're going to take great care of you." For the past 6 months, James had been waging a solitary war against a foe he never anticipated: Ethan's rare blood disorder, which demanded frequent hospital visits and specialized care. As a construction worker, James's modest insurance covered only the essentials, leaving him drowning in medical bills. He'd taken unpaid leave to be with Ethan, draining their meager savings weeks ago. Tonight, a spiking fever had forced James to rush Ethan to the emergency room, unable to wait for dawn. As they moved deeper into the hospital, James fought to suppress the dread that haunted him constantly. What if he couldn't afford the care Ethan needed? What if he failed his son in his darkest hour? They passed the hospital's administrative offices, where, through glass doors, James glimpsed sharply dressed individuals in what seemed to be a late-night meeting. Likely board members discussing budgets and policies, while families like his grappled with the labyrinth of healthcare. Suddenly, Ethan perked up in James's arms, pointing toward the glass doors. "Daddy, look." James followed his son's gaze, curious about what had caught his attention. "That's Mommy," Ethan declared with unshakable certainty, his tiny finger aimed at a woman in a sleek white blouse and navy skirt standing at the head of a conference table. James's heart froze. The woman, exuding authority and surrounded by executives, appeared to be in her early 30s, her blonde hair neatly pinned back, her presence radiating success and wealth. "Ethan, sweetheart, that's not Mommy," James said softly, his voice catching. Ethan's mother had walked out when he was just a year old, choosing her career over motherhood. James hadn't heard from her since. But Ethan shook his head stubbornly, the way only a child convinced of a truth can. "It's her, Daddy. I know her smell. I know her voice." At that moment, the woman in the conference room glanced up, her eyes locking with James's through the glass. For a fleeting second, her polished demeanor wavered, revealing a flash of recognition, shock, and perhaps regret. She excused herself from the meeting and approached the door. As she drew closer, James's breath caught. Ethan was right. Despite the tailored clothes and commanding air, this was Emily Harper, the woman who had given birth to Ethan and then vanished from their lives. "James," she said softly, stepping into the hallway, her voice barely audible. "Emily," James replied, his tone thick with emotions he thought he'd long buried. Ethan stretched his arms toward her, his face glowing with joy. "Mommy, I knew it was you." Emily's composed facade shattered. Tears welled in her eyes as she gazed at the son she hadn't seen in over 2 years. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking. James stood rooted, holding Ethan between them, torn between disbelief and uncertainty. This woman bore little resemblance to the overwhelmed young mother who had left them. Her designer attire and leadership in what seemed a high-level hospital meeting spoke of a life transformed by success. "Why are you here?" Emily asked, though her eyes, catching Ethan's hospital bracelet and 4-line, answered her own question. Her face paled. "Ethan's sick," James said plainly. "He's been in and out of hospitals for months. His fever spiked tonight, so I brought him to the ER." Emily's hand covered her mouth. "What's wrong with him?" "A blood disorder," James explained, his voice steady despite the surreal moment. "It's treatable, but the ongoing care and medications cost more than I can manage." Emily's gaze settled on Ethan, who reached for her with unwavering trust, as if she'd never left. "Can I hold him?" she asked tentatively. After a brief pause, James carefully passed Ethan to her. The boy nestled into her arms, as if some primal memory of her embrace lingered within him. "I missed you, Mommy," Ethan said, patting her cheek. Emily closed her eyes, tears streaming down as she held him close. I missed you too, baby. More than you'll ever know. James watched, his heart a battleground of conflicting emotions. Anger simmered for Emily's abandonment, but seeing Ethan's need for his mother stirred a reluctant relief. Emily, he said quietly, where have you been? What happened? Emily met his gaze over Ethan's head. After I left, I threw myself into work. I started a medical consulting firm, and it took off beyond my wildest dreams. I became successful, wealthy, but I convinced myself you and Ethan were better off without me. I thought I was too selfish, too driven, to be a good mother. I told myself you'd find someone better for him. James struggled to keep the pain from his voice. You never reached out. I was scared, Emily admitted. Scared you'd hate me, that Ethan wouldn't know me, that I'd hurt you both again. Ethan looked up at her, his eyes serious. Are you staying this time, Mommy? The question hung heavily. Emily glanced from Ethan to James, then back to her son. If your daddy allows it, she said softly. I want to try. I want to help care for you and make sure you have all the medicine you need. James studied her, searching for signs of fleeting commitment. But he saw genuine remorse and a resolve absent 3 years ago. Ethan needs his mother, he said at last. And I need help. I can't do this alone anymore. In the weeks that followed, Emily cautiously re-entered their lives. She leveraged her wealth and connections to secure Ethan the best specialists in the country. As a hospital benefactor, she also advocated for other families facing similar battles. More importantly, she began rebuilding her bond with Ethan, attending every appointment, mastering his medication routine, and spending hours reading and playing his favorite games. 3 months later, Ethan's condition had improved dramatically, thanks to top-tier care. The three sat together in his hospital room during a weekly treatment, reading stories. Daddy, Ethan said, looking up from his book, are we a family again? James and Emily exchanged a glance. They'd been navigating careful discussions about the future, prioritizing Ethan's needs. We're working on it, buddy, James said gently. What do you think? Ethan's bright, innocent smile lit up the room, a beacon through their darkest days. I think families help each other when someone's sick, and they stay together. Emily reached for James's hand. Ethan's wise for a 3-year-old. James squeezed her hand lightly. He knew it was you, even when I doubted him. Kids see with their hearts, Emily said softly. Maybe we should all do that more. 6 months later, Ethan was in full remission. Emily had founded a nonprofit to support families in medical crises, learning to balance her thriving career with motherhood. James returned to work, secure in the knowledge that Ethan's care was assured. He'd come to understand that sometimes people leave not from lack of love, but from not yet knowing how to love themselves. As they left the hospital after Ethan's final treatment, Ethan looked up at his parents. I told you it was Mommy. I never forgot her. Emily knelt, hugging him tightly. And I never forgot you, sweetheart. Not for a single day. James reflected as they walked together. Sometimes, the most profound reunions unfold in the unlikeliest places. And sometimes, it takes a child's unshakable belief to remind adults that true love never fades. It simply waits for the moment to find its way back home.